evening, everybody, and welcome to the Metal Magdalene with Jet right here on Metal Messiah Radio. Today marks the last show of our guitar month here, and our final guest is none other than Mr. Pestilence himself, Patrizio Mameli. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Jet, for having me on Metal Messiah Radio. I mean, it's a real pleasure. I kind of feel like I'm like the headliner here, which makes me feel extra special.
Well, you kind of are because you're closing out the show, so we're glad to have you.
Awesome.
Okay, so we have a lot of ground to cover as you have a lot of stuff going on. But tell us a little bit about yourself now. So where were you, born and raised, and what kind of music were you, raised listening to in your household?
Well, born in the Netherlands, like some of the other bands that you have been interviewing. Actually, I'm an oldie, so I was born in '67, which means I'm 51 now. I grew up in my hometown called Enschede, and I think I was 4 years old when I got handed my first guitar. So I was always kind of noodling around. I did not know what I was doing at the age of 4, obviously, but listening to stuff like Deep Purple or later on maybe Kiss, but actually anything I could get my hands on, I would try to mimic with my guitar. So at first it was just like noodling around, and then later on I kind of found out about chords myself. I did not even know what were chords or what they were made of. But it was kind of funny that I kind of realized that myself, and actually self-taught. But later on, I discovered that to become an entity yourself, it's not very good to become a sponge, because all the information that we didn't have the internet, but all the information that was received came through radio and television. So. Whether it was German music or Dutch type of music or anything classical, I started to listening everything and trying to find the logic of it. Didn't know anything about music theory and stuff like that. Just noodling around a little bit, and that was fine. I was actually perfectly fine until I was 12 or something like that, when I really started realizing that, hey, maybe I have a talent here.
And so did you end up ever taking any lessons?
Yeah, but that was at my age, I think I was 18 or 20 when I started taking up jazz more, because there was this teacher in my street, and he saw me walking around with my guitar someday, and then he approached me and said, well, what type of music you play? And I was like, well, rock music and stuff like that, age of 12, not knowing what I was doing really. And he was like, well, what about jazz? I'm like, what is that, jazz? And so he introduced me to jazz and those chords. And at first, that was just too much information for me, because, most of the guitarists that are listening to the show now will understand that the 2-finger chords and the power chords, it does not take too much knowledge, and you can make music with those chords. But I think it was the age of 18 when I really started to realize that there was more than just those power chords going on.
So what was the first band you were in when you were like, no, I want to have a band? Come on.
I think it was well, I was 16, and mind you, I was just noodling, and I was just in my room 24/7, just playing the guitar. My dad's Italian, and he was wondering about whether I was not interested in women or girls. At the age of 16. I had to, it's like, why don't you get out of your room and start kissing some girls, man? What's up with that already? And I'm like, I just want to play guitar. So he figured well, dude, you have to stop doing that and then go out and then, besides school, go and get out in the world and be a regular kid at 16 years old. Right? So I tried that for a little bit, and I just went back to playing guitar because that was my first love, and that's what I wanted to do. So in school, I started talking to some kids, like, whether they were interested in making music and stuff like that. And that's actually how I met Marco, who was my first drummer for Pestilence. And he was in Pestilence since '93. So from the age of 16 to 1993, we were in Pestilence together. I never had any other band, just Pestilence. Yeah.
So, here you guys are starting out in Pestilence. So, tell us then about that. Tell us about starting the band up and what those early days were like.
Well, the early days were like, that there was still no internet. You had your radio and TV, and they had these, rock channels where they would play, like I said, Deep Purple, Smoke on the Water and all that stuff. But after a while, you kind of tend to feel that there's more out there, and you hear about bands like Kiss, and we all love the theatrical stuff about it, and then Slayer came out, or Venom and Slayer around that time, and we were like, holy shit, what is this? That's kind of crazy that we never realized that there was something like that out there. So we started to hang out with a certain group of people that were more interested in the more extreme types of music, and that's where the tape trading came into place. So we started to get into tape trading pretty seriously. We are expecting all these packages from the States and stuff like that. That's where we got a hand of the first Possessed demos and the first Death demos and stuff like that. And we were also interested in more like hardcore music. And I'm not talking about the hardcore dance music that we're talking about nowadays. I'm talking about the actual punk rock music and the movement that was happening back then. And we really loved the rawness of that as well. So we were into the tape trading, and we just decided to form our own band and try to mimic a little bit, what was going on, what we thought was, really hip at that time. So we're listening to early Slayer, listening to early Possessed and Death, and we're like, wow, man, that's something that we really want to do ourselves. And that's when our Dysentery demo came out in 1987, I think.
So when did you were you writing music per se before you even got into Pestilence, or were you just playing along to other songs and stuff?
Well, that's the whole problem that I found. What was my problem is everybody wants to be unique.
Right.
But when you listen to a certain type of music and you mimic, because I call it mimic, you want to mimic that type of style, then you will never create your own music. So at first we're like, okay, well, let's try to be like Possessed. Let's try to be like Death. And obviously the first demo, my voice sounded like Jeff Becerra, and the music sounded like Chuck's Death. So now you have a mixture of two bands, and we kind of liked that whole idea. And then when the demo came out, it was not a huge success, but it was not because of the tape trading, we got to be known as well a little bit. And then we did the Penance demo in '87 as well. So we're on our way to become the European answer to what we thought was, what was happening, in the Bay Area and what was happening with the Florida scene. And obviously, these guys over there, they heard about us as well, because we were the first Dutch band to be signed to Roadrunner back in the days. So, which is a whole another ball game here, because I think you asked Stefan from Thanatos whether there was a scene in Holland, and he mentioned that there was not a scene. Well, there was a scattered scene, and everybody was kind of hating on each other. And that was the case with Pestilence as well, And then when we got signed to Roadrunner, everybody fucking hated us because we were the first band to get a worldwide deal.
Right.
Who the fuck are those guys? Those fucking farmers and blah blah blah. What have you? So By the time, from being 16 and my dad tells me that I have to go out there and kiss girls instead of play my guitar, and then turning 18 and getting a record deal, in these 2 years, a lot of stuff happened. My mom wanted me to be a lawyer. My dad was kind of from really poor, from a poor, and he was loving it. I mean, he was like his son was going to become like the next big thing, right? So yeah, we took it from there, and by the time we did our first album, Mameli in '88 for Roadrunner Records, we were still like really looking for it. And actually, it's my fault because I'm kind of the guy that is doing the composing and coming up with the beats and all that stuff. Anyways, that was kind of my fault because I'm like a sponge still, trying to get in as much information that I can, listening to Infernal Majesty, listening to a little bit of Creator, listening to a little bit of Death. And so we didn't really have, a real style of our own, which kind of came later when we recorded Testimony of the Ancients, really, in '91.
Well, I think that's pretty normal with any band really starting up because you're inspired by these other people and it's bound to come across a little bit. And as you play along throughout the years, you kind of develop your own style anyways. So what were like some of the first big shows you did?
Well, for us, anything bigger than a crowd of 50 was a big show, because like we already established the fact that there was no scene in Holland, and we did cross the borders because we were living really close to the German border, and we already knew then that there was a little bit bigger scene in Germany. So yeah, we did some stuff with DRI. Back in the day, DRI was pretty big, and they were kind of crossover, and we opened up for them. We did some stuff for Motorhead. We did some stuff with Creator when Creator was not really that big. Now they're bigger. Destruction, Sieges Even, good old Sieges Even, all this stuff. So we did have some appearances on German TV. And of course, Headbangers Ball was really big back then.
Yep.
When Land of Tears got played for the first time, we were like, wow, what's next? That was the biggest thing for us that was happening at the time. So we did do some shows that were like, between 500 and 1,000 people. And that was already like, I thought I was not going to be bigger than that, So we were so happy just being able to play music, which back then it was really, really difficult to make it in the music industry, because even being signed to a label like Roadrunner, I mean, we're rookies. We didn't know anything about the music industry, so we got screwed over a bunch of times. But we still loved just playing, and for a very long time that could kind of heal us from the stuff that was going to come for us.
And like you said, you guys were excited at first, you're going along, and then you freaking broke up. So what?
Yeah.
What was the whole, kind of reason for that breakup, and what made you decide to, start this thing back up again?
Well, I already just told you that, we're struggling really hard, and even, being signed to a label like Roadrunner, doing Consuming Impulse, which was in '89, a Testimony of the Ancients in '91. I mean, we were getting bigger. I mean, by that time, we already been supporting, Death in Europe and in the States a bunch of times. We did some headlining shows, and we did some direct supports, and everything was going really well, except the money was not coming in. And we're like, what is this? Every time we get tour support, we have to pay it back through royalties and stuff like. So we're like, they call it unrecouped. So you have to wait until until you pay off the debt that you made by recording an album, for example. And bad management and stuff like that. So by the time we were supposed to record Spheres in '93, I'm already thinking, fuck it, man. I'm done with this stuff, because I'm putting all the effort and putting all my energy towards this, and I'm not making any money. My mom is riding my neck like a pit bull. Like, dude, I told you should have become a lawyer. You got brains, and look where you're at now. And my dad's like, he's just clueless. He doesn't care. He just wants me to play, right? So by the time we were supposed to record Spheres, Roadrunner was not going to let us go. There was like this huge wave of death metal coming, where they were signing all these bands, and they were like, it was almost like we were put on hold, and they were not going to do nothing with us, and then we still had to do like 2 albums with them or 3 albums. So I finally decided to come up with Spheres, and Spheres was like something that they totally couldn't promote or distribute because it was so out of the box that they dropped us. So that's kind of a fact that that people have been discussing. Why is Spheres the way it is? Yeah, Spheres. It was for me. I composed that album to get out of the record deal with Road Race, and so they dropped us because they could not market that album at the time. And the fans dropped us as well. So I'm like, I'm all good. I've tried it. I did my best. I also knew that there's a lot of bands out there. They're still guilty of the same thing. Is that they're not progressing. They're not progressing as a musician. They feel that they can kind of reinvent themselves all the time by putting out the same album. And I've always tried to take more risks. And then, by the time we did Spheres, the fans dropped us, and the record label dropped us. So I kind of went back to my old stuff, went back to school, just totally forgot about making music. I went into finances and worked for an impound company. I did all kinds of stuff to earn a living. And by the time, and I have 2 kids, 14 and 12, so that was my priority. And obviously, being a musician, you can like put that away, that feeling, but that went really well for a long time, because from Spheres to Resurrection Macabre, it's like from '93 until 2009. Can you imagine how long I have not been playing? So, and the blood goes where so I came back after listening to some of the music that was out there. I'm like, I felt kind of reborn. That's why the album is called Resurrection Macabre, and we had pretty good reviews, and I thought that we would do better this time because we had a deeper and a better understanding about what the music industry is all about. And the music industry took huge blows anyways, because there was no money to be made anymore with record sales. When the internet was introduced, remember when Metallica was fighting Napster? That stuff was for real, and still they became millionaires. But the fact is that the reason being is that as soon as music comes out, it will get spread out by some Russian hacking site, and your music is gone. Yeah. And that's a fact, and it's still happening, because when I remember that when we came out with Hey Dion, our last album, a week before that, it already got hacked, and it was already out there. So we had an early release of that album as well, because obviously there's a lot of people out there that mean harm, and they don't care. They just want to be the first to hack your music and just to have it out there, not even thinking about the fact that the band is trying to survive and are losing money.
And since you guys been back over the last 10 years, you released 4 full-length albums, some compilation. It's not like you haven't been doing anything since you've been back. A live album. So what's been some of your highest highs in the band as well as your lowest lows? Because we like to hear the dirt here.
Well, yeah. Well, the lowest lows I've already said. If that was the breakup after Spheres, um, and then crawling back up and do Resurrection, and that was released in 2009. We did Doctrine in 2011, we did Obsidio 2013, and now Hey Dion. And we just did like a really, really good and cool headlining tour throughout all Europe for the 30th anniversary of Consuming Impulse, which was a total highlight for me because, as I mentioned before, I'm 51 now. So, you know, I see my fan base, they're getting old with me, you know. It's like they're all in their 40s and late 30s, and you know, they're not stage diving anymore because everybody's got a plastic hip and stuff like that, you know. So everybody's more relaxed and calm, and they're more like the listening, you know, the listening type of fans. And then we did some shows in Portugal and in Spain and in Italy and all these places where I think that there's just more stuff going on, you know. There's like these people have a little bit of a different feeling towards metal and metal in general. So they're like, I mean, we've had the hugest crowds and the most insane pits happening again. Also, us going to South America is another highlight where we played in front of thousands of people, where you have 500, 600 people in the mosh pit just getting crazy, you know, and everybody's still enjoying the golden oldies, still enjoying Consuming Impulse. And when we do songs of Testimony of the Ancients, people just love that stuff. So I'm very thankful and glad that, you know, that the fans, they kind of grew up with me. They're still there, you know, in their 40s and still, you know, digging the more extreme types of music and supporting Pestilence, which keeps me going and keeps me going on and on.
So here we are in 2019, and you mentioned that you're writing new music and it's going to be released on your own label. So tell us about that and what's going on with the band now.
Well, the thing is that, you know, as we just discussed before, it's like I always have a feeling that, you know, people, they want the best for you if they can make a buck themselves as well. So everybody wants to make a buck and everybody wants a piece of the pie. I do understand this. You know, if you have to work with people, you have to generate money, everybody's got to eat, no problem. But there's this big misconception that I owe anybody something. I'm the guy that is the creative guy. I'm the creative brain behind the music. So I create the music. And then I kind of give my music out of my hands, and then they do with it what they want, you know. Then I don't own the rights to my own music. So I figured, not this time anymore. I'm just going to do everything by myself. I'm going to have my own label. I'm going to distribute my own music. People will be able to get my music. There will be also physical evidence, like, you know, the CDs. You can buy the CDs when we go on tour and do the shows. But I think that we're going to 2020, man. I mean, these are new times where technology gives us the opportunity to distribute music in a different way that we have been doing for a long time now. So I will be releasing my own music. I'm writing my own music now, and I will be on top of what is going to happen with Pestilence. I'll be top on the finances. I will know what comes in and what goes out. I mean, it's really strange that you have to call somebody and ask them about your numbers. It's like, why don't you call me and tell me my numbers? And then I have to check whether those numbers are true or right. So doing everything yourself, it takes a little bit more time. It eats a little bit more of your own personal time. I do have a social life that will be a little bit less, but at least I will generate my own money and know where the money is going. I mean, everybody's got to eat. We've got to eat too. I have to pay my rent. I got 2 kids. I got a beautiful girlfriend. I got my band members to feed. So this for us is you know, this is serious. It's a serious job. And next to performing live, which I really enjoy doing, because there is the release of all your energy and you see the fans and the interaction. but the whole footwork and the whole, thinking and organizing stuff behind it is another thing that it can't be overlooked. So you have to be your own businessman. So it's going to be a little bit more time consuming for me, but I do it with all my love, because my love for death metal and Pestilence, really, to bring out new music and keep on performing until the day I die. Actually, that's just the way for me it works. It's try to be as creative as possible, have nobody tell me what I can and cannot do, like record labels have been trying to do in the past. So I'm not bound to those rules anymore. I can just be whoever I want to be, which is just being Patrizio Mameli.
Talking about making this new album again, what could you tell us about it? I mean, what kind of mind frame were you in writing this one?
Well, yeah, people always ask me, how do you come up with an idea? And I really can't explain that. I have no clue. And when people tell you how they come up with a song, they will probably tell you the same. I don't know. Maybe there's like a higher source up there where you can tap in, and then and it pours like all these creative ideas to you, and then you do something with it. I don't know. It can be anything. So, for example, I'm driving my car, and then this small snippet of melody line comes up, or just a title of a song, and I'll just kind of start putting stuff together, and when it comes out, it comes out. When it doesn't come out, it doesn't come out. I'm working out all the time. I go to the gym every day. Sometimes I'll be in the gym, and then I'll just have to go home because I have this idea that I have to work out. So that's how it works. I go home to my little home studio. I record a bit, and then just let it be, and I'll let it rest, and I'll just go about my business. So it's finally taken form and shape, and I'm always trying to be as creative as possible and not rehash my own stuff. Mm-hmm. So this time it will be not more of the same, because I'm trying to do something original. I'm not doing any Pestilence Part 2. I've never done that. I never do that. The subjects are going to be more of a psychological nature this time. We've touched many subjects, and Pestilence has always been a band that has always touched different types of subjects than your blood, guts, and gore and horror and stuff like that, because I think that limits a band really much, a lot. And I think also you lose a little bit of credibility. I'm not here to bash any band that is doing that. More power to them for doing it. But for me, I want to be taken seriously as well in what I'm trying to say. It's not like, I can't be talking about zombies, man. Fucking zombies don't exist. Why would I be talking about zombies? It's like, dude, that's like fantasy. I want to talk about realistic stuff that is actually happening. So that for me has a much more of a deeper meaning. That's like the same as if you would say, like, to somebody that is not into metal, trying to convince them that you are serious about your music. Right. And then when they ask you, so what's your lyrics all about? And then when you say zombies, then you have to question your credibility right there.
Exactly.
Of course, it's entertainment. I do understand.
Right, of course, yeah.
It's all entertainment. I do understand that. But for Pestilence, I'm 51. I can't be talking about stuff.
So let's get into some guitar talk now. So who are like some of your biggest influences?
Back in the day, and more recently, obviously, John Coltrane and Alan Holdsworth. Those are the two people that come into mind. And obviously, there's many and many more. But it's not like because I'm a guitar player, I'm just into guitar players. Right. I like Chick Corea, which is a piano player. And I like saxophone players because they have the craziest lines to play, you know. And the thing is that for me, from an early age, and me being a sponge, I know that's my my fall down. If I do that, if I get inspired too much, eventually I will pick up little pieces of this and that, and I will sound like that person. So I kind of let that go, listening to Holdsworth all the time, because I knew I was going to get too much influenced by Holdsworth. But you know, those guys are really on top of my list. You know, if of credibility. If you say, well, who's your favorite guitar player? Yeah, that's Alan Holdsworth.
So how many guitars do you actually own?
Not too many. I think I have 2 working guitars that are actually working. I got a bunch of messed up guitars as well that I'm still trying to figure out. Scott's building me one. I have a custom made, which is a Mameli guitar, which I'm really proud of. And that is made by Stefano Mura, which is a Sardinian luthier. And his guitar has got, you know, one of the best actions. Action is like the string towards the neck. That's called action. It's like 1 millimeter. So I'm kind of a lazy player, so I don't have to press really hard. Mm-hmm. And for luthiers, they understand. And when I say 1 millimeter action is absurd, it's almost not done. But that's what I asked for. That's what I asked Scott to do for me as well. And he said it can be done. So I'm anxiously waiting for his guitar to be ready. And hopefully at Maryland Death Fest, I will be holding that thing in my hands. So that's kind of getting close there, because it's not so far away, right?
Oh, it's like next month, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
That's pretty close. So he's talking about Scott Pavarnik of SB Custom Guitars. So tell us a little bit about that. I mean, now here you're an artist working with a builder. What, besides the 1 millimeter thing you were talking about? I'm not a big guitarist, so I can't quote you exactly. What are some of the things that you look for in a guitar, and that are some of your preferences? Because now it's like building a house. You get to pick out the wood and all this other kind of stuff. And tell us some of the components in it too.
Definitely. Well, me and Scott have been talking, for a long time now, and he knows what I want, and I know what he can provide me, what he can do for me. And obviously, I want the 25.5 scale, the 24 stainless steel frets. I'm getting the lacewood bound ebony floors. I get the 3-piece maple neck through mahogany wings, and the redwood lace burl top, redwood lace burl. Experts, luthiers, they know what I'm talking about. I mean, that's the most beautiful wood there is. Obviously, I love my EMG 81, active EMG, and the custom headless combo top, and the J Custom XS Tremolo, which is kind of a copy from the old Steinberger. Since you just mentioned what kind of guitars I have, my favorite guitar is still the Steinberger, which was created by Ned Steinberg back in the days, and Alan also played that guitar, so I was really focused on that kind of typical brand. And they didn't make it. I think that they went bankrupt, and now they got. Now they are back on their feet because they got taken over by Gibbs, I think it was. So so that's kind of the specifics for the Scott guitar, and I'm really looking forward to that one, because as we already mentioned earlier, Scott's such a great person, and the people that he's been building guitars for, they speak nothing but total positiveness, about him and his work. So I know Terrence loves his guitar, and I think that he's building a base for the guy for Morbid Angel,
Yep.
right?
Yes.
Yeah. So all these big names are he's working with, and I'm kind of wow, that makes me feel real special.
So what would you say makes a good guitar player?
Well, actually, I think a good guitar player is the guitar player that listens. What makes a good musician should be the bigger question. Is a person that can listen. You have to communicate, and we communicate through music. So in order to become a better musician, you have to really listen to what you are doing yourself and where you are, what your position is within the group or the ensemble that you're playing with. Because I think that a lot of people kind of lack that ability to actually listen to other people and what your place is in the whole scheme. Because I remember back in the days, I've noticed that myself. I'm so caught up with my own playing that I don't even count anymore. I'm just playing and playing, and then somebody is totally off, or for me it's off, but that person tells me that I am off. So nobody's listening to each other, right? Mm-hmm. So that's the first thing. The second thing, what you have to do to become a good musician is have some kind of metronome. Timekeeping is one of the most essential stuff. That brings me to having a good drummer. Now, if you're a very good guitar player and you have a very good bass player, but your drummer sucks, your band will fucking suck, okay? So if you don't have a good drummer, forget about it. Now, I happen to have a very good drummer because that's the most important thing in the band is the drummer. If the drummer can keep time, if the drummer is good with accentuating parts and doing all the shots, doing all the stuff, yeah, you're good to go. Then, the bass will follow and you can actually have a good band. So that's the key word, is to the basics, learn the basics, learn your scales as a guitar player, learn your scales. And I know it's very difficult because metal is pretty much very limiting because everything is pretty much based around the lowest note that you have. That's why when people tune to B, their lowest note will be B. So everything will be, kind of played around this whole section. So it's very difficult to come up with variations then, and that's where the jazz comes in. Because with jazz you have chord scales and you will have more modes and stuff, so you can kind of express yourself in a better way. So that's another thing. Try to think out of the metal box and to become a better musician. Actually, I'll give you in on a secret. I don't listen to metal ever. I don't listen to death metal ever. Mm-hmm. Because me being the sponge that I am, I'm terrified of being inspired so much by something that I'm losing control of the Pestilence style. Mm-hmm. I find myself lately not wanting to listen to the new Possessed because I'm scared of it. Because I like it too much. Then I'm scared that my next Pestilence album will have points of reference to Possessed, which I don't want. Maybe, I want people because
maybe you're gonna have to write your album first, and then after you write your album, then you could go listen to the new Possessed album.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. You are totally right. That's what I'm gonna do. So, I'm gonna first finish my album. And then listen to other shit.
There you go. All the stuff you wanted to hear, but you were too afraid to. So you mentioned a little bit about Maryland Death Fest. So what do you guys got coming up then for tours and stuff?
I think we have a bunch of things stuff coming up. I think first we have the Netherlands Death Fest, which is in May. Then we have Maryland Death Fest. Then we have Ukraine. Then we have 4 shows in Asia, Philippines, Singapore, and stuff like that. And then we go back to France, Helvest. Then we have, I think, Dockham Open Air in, I think it's somewhere in June. Then we have Goat Hellfest with Destruction. Then we have In Flammen. Then we have an option to go to Sicily, which is really nice. I've never played Sicily before. My dad's from Sardinia, and Sicily is like south of the boot, south of Italy. That's just would be really nice to go there just for the pasta only, And me being diabetic, I'm really fucked twice, And then we have in I think it's August, Leyendas del Rock. That's a huge festival in Spain. And then we have Kaltenbach with another festival. And then we go to Japan, Tokyo.
Oh my God!
And after that it'll be in November, South America coming up again. So that's another premiere that I can already present to you. We'll be going there headlining again for Pestilence.
So, oh my God, and that's just all the way up until November. So Pestilence is going to be all over the freaking world all summer long.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, we got to keep ourselves busy and spread the world. I mean, we still have a lot of these places. We still have to go there, and the places that we didn't go to meet, for the Consuming Impulse 30th anniversary, people have been asking us like, when are you coming to the States? Well, just Maryland Death Fest, I guess, because we're supposed to come over. I don't know if you heard that story about what happened to us at Metal Sucks. So
tell no, you know what? I vaguely heard a little bit, and I remember you guys were supposed to come over, and then there's something happened. What happened?
Yeah. Well, something happened, and it started off. I mean, it started off really, really childish. I had to block this guy. Yeah, I had to block this guy from Facebook because he was being too much of an annoying fan, and I just blocked him. I warned him a bunch of times. And his buddy, who was still my Facebook friend, started digging on my personal account, and somehow he managed to fabricate a little story about me being a racist, because that goes really well for Metal Sucks, obviously. And for some reason, Google translated the word Negro into something else.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
Right?
Now.
And then I said that, and I mean, come on, man. Terrence is a good friend of mine.
I know, it's ridiculous.
So it came into something that, it was like a snowball effect. And of course it backfired to them because all my fans were, kind of sending these guys messages like, you guys fucking nuts, man. Are you guys nuts? This is crazy. But, they made us, they canceled the tour. The local
crazy.
Promoters were just getting scared of the,
of course,
the Antifa movement. And that's another thing, man. People ask me this all the time. I don't think that politics should be, present into music. Just don't do it. I mean, even your personal preferences has nothing to do with you being creative and playing music. Music should be music, and it should be entertainment. And political correctness is not entertainment. That's just some serious shit that is like killing. It's killing America as well. I've been following what is going on for years. And I mean, you can love Trump, you can hate Trump. That's the whole another discussion. But it seems that people use social unrest to make even more chaos instead of trying to figure stuff out, And then we get stuff like that. I'm like, wow, how can I be racist if I'm Italian and my girlfriend is Chinese?
I know. It's so ridiculous.
Come on. It's ridiculous, but some people actually they're just scared of going to the show, and then you'll get all these protesters throwing bricks at you and stuff like that. So
I wanted to ask you too about this whole Antifa thing. Now, is it going on everywhere? Because it seems like all the incidences and all these bands, it's all over here in the U.S. of A. I mean, is this happening everywhere?
Yeah, it's happening in Holland as well. It's happening in Europe as well. I think what happened is that back in the 60s and 70s, everybody was very much focused on what was happening in the States. You know, everybody in Holland in Europe thought America was cool. You know, that was the place to be. That, you know, the American dream, all that stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
All that good stuff. So they looked up to the States, definitely. And all these fashion statements and all these things that were coming out, all these movements there, we picked it up in Europe as well. So also the bad things we are picking up here. You know, the EU is picking up on things that, you know, U.S. is doing as well. You know, so we have Antifa here. We got these fuckers walking around here as well. You know, causing chaos and just like destruction. It's like there's no democracy anymore. Everybody is scared nowadays of just, you know, expressing their own feelings. And, you know, but I really do think I have to really stress that out for in music. Politics should be a part of music. It just should, because we're here to entertain. And when people are coming buying a ticket, they don't want to be talking about politics. They just want to hear music, and it should be like a release of energy, right?
Right.
And that's my honest opinion. It should be like this. You're going to a show. It's like go and watch a movie. You don't want to be going to movies. I bet some people do want to go and watch political movies, but not me. I want to be amused. I want to have. I want to see adventure. I want to see science fiction. I want to see action. I want to see stuff like that I can kind of turn my brain off for a little bit.
Right. Right. You want to escape the real world for a little while.
Right. Definitely, because the real world is grim already as it is.
This is true. And say, if people want to learn more about the band, you know, Pestilence, what are the best websites for them to go to keep up with the band, what tours you got going on, and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, definitely. Just go to the official Pestilence Facebook site, which is run by us. So all the facts, and also my personal Facebook site. I'm always talking on that Facebook site. Always talking about what's happening with Pestilence. Of course, we got the pestilence.nl, which is our website, where you can find pretty much all the information. But you know, just going to my personal. I mean, I'm limited to the 5,000 fans that I have, but I'm always how do you call it? When I post something, it's always openly, so everybody can get to watch it. So I have all the information. I have all the information out there, and also when people are interested in my you know, me working out and what that does for my diet and being diabetic type 1. So I always discuss these topics as well, you know, because I'm more than just like, you know, Patrizio Mameli from Pestilence. I mean, I have lots of stuff to talk about.
And you also have a YouTube channel too, right? That people could go check all that stuff out?
Yes, definitely. And I'm kind of guilty of not, you know, updating that thing. I should be updating more, and I will be updating as soon as I get a chance. But Pestilence website will be up and running even more as we're going closer to our goal of releasing Excidium, which is our new album. And people will be able there, and also on YouTube channel, will be able to see how we record our songs, what kind of gear we're using, and all these kind of you know, other scenes that you normally won't be able to get to see, because I think it's important for fans to see how the process of recording a song and all this stuff, how that works for Pestilence.
And there you guys go. And Patrizio, thank you for coming on the show, closing out Guitar Month with us. It's been an honor and a pleasure, and we wish you all the best in your career.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much for giving me this opportunity, because you're as famous as I am. Let me tell you, everybody's talking about you. Everybody's talking about, oh, who she's coming, you know, who's coming next, you know, who she's going to talk next to. I mean, you've been having some pretty amazing musicians in your show, so thank you so much for having me.